Hi, my name is Bill Braniff, and in this module, Conceptual Frameworks for Understanding Global Jihadism, I'll be providing you with a case study looking at Al-Qaeda, but in the context of the broader global jihadist movement. This is somewhat different from the way that people are often referring to terrorist organizations. Many times we hold up these organizations and examine them as if they're in a vacuum. Right? We try to understand the key leadership, the inner workings of the group, instead of looking at these organizations in the context in which they live and operate. Al-Qaeda competes with other organizations. It collaborates with other organizations. And if you don't look at this organization in context and appreciate that dynamic existence, I think you make what is often called the fundamental attribution error in international relations or political science. This idea that, well, when we look at our own behaviors and our own decisions, we take into account all the nuance that comes with real life. The times that we have to compromise with others, the times we have to negotiate, the times we have to choose what we know is a less good course of action because it's really the only one that's viable for us at that given moment. Well, the same kind of nuance applies to organizational decision making for a group like Al-Qaeda. They're not monolithic. They have internal schisms. They don't just get to act out on the world in the way they want to. They often have to negotiate or compromise. They sometimes have to take the second best course of action because of limitations on them. And so what I'd like to do is try to look at Al-Qaeda through a host of different lenses in order to get that feeling of context in which Al-Qaeda lives and operates. Before we begin, I do want to provide one note on terminology. For this lecture, when I use the term jihad or jihadism, I'm not using it as a synonym for the greater jihad, which in traditional Islam is understood as the struggling or striving to be a better Muslim, to fight against one's temptations and sins. And I'm not really even using it as a synonym for the lesser jihad, which in traditional Islam is the idea of using the Muslim armies to either expand or protect the borders of the Muslim empire historically. Instead, I'm referring to the modern and inherently violent ideology specific to Al-Qaeda and its associated movement. It's often referred to as takfirism, this idea that Al-Qaeda conducts violence against other Muslims that it believes to be un-Islamic. This is the practice of takfir, and also wages violence against far enemies like, say, the United States or European governments, who they believe prop up these false Muslim governments in the Muslim world that Al-Qaeda is also attacking. Why focus on Al-Qaeda for this case study? And why focus on the broader global jihadist movement of which Al-Qaeda is a part? The short answer is that there is more terrorism currently in the world than there has been over the last 44 years. It's more lethal. It affects the Muslim world to a much greater degree than it affects any other community in the world. And the deadliest organizations found in this current terrorist environment are part of the global jihadist movement, at which Al-Qaeda sits at the historical and conceptual center.